Eamonn Holmes says, Ruth is all the hard stuff, in rare update about ex-wife. Eamonn Holmes has shared an update on rescue dog Maggie this week following his split from Ruth Langsford, with whom he had adopted the canine companion over a decade ago. Former This Morning star Eamonn Holmes has referenced his former wife Ruth Langsford in a recent post concerning their beloved rescue dog Maggie this week. He's offered a glimpse into their current arrangements following a heartfelt tribute to Maggie over the weekend. Eamonn, 65, and Ruth, 65, revealed last year that they had chosen to part ways after 14 years of marriage. The former pair, who share a son, were subsequently reported to be embroiled in a custody battle over their canine companion Maggie, whom they had welcomed into their family in 2011. Following a recent post about Maggie, Eamonn returned to Instagram yesterday with a fresh update, reports The Mirror. The message included praise for Ruth, who frequently shares updates about walking Maggie, whilst hinting at his future plans. Eamonn informed his followers that Maggie would be featured in the Times this week. He wrote, "So much interest and love for Maggie following yesterday's post, to the extent that she is going to star in at the Times Online from tomorrow and this week's Sunday Times." The former This Morning presenter, who has faced health challenges in recent years, continued by acknowledging that his ex handles all the hard stuff with Maggie. He said, "Ruth does all the hard stuff with her because of my wheelchair restrictions, but working hard to hopefully get better soon and adopt another #rescue #dog like we did from at Dogs Trust all those years ago." The presenter shared, "Maggie changed my life and she was making me very happy in the sunshine today. In many ways she reminds me of my dearly departed mum, a really bad knee and hardly any teeth left, but not bad for a 17-year-old. Eamonn, who is a patron of rescue group Canine Angels, concluded, "Please try to adopt and not shop if you can. From organizations like at Canine Angels and at Dogs Trust, enjoy the sunshine, but please be aware of your dog in a car and its little feet on hot pavements. Bye from Maggie and me." The journalist, who used Randy Newman's song "You've Got a Friend in Me" from Toy Story 1995 in the post, had posted about Maggie yesterday. Alongside photos, he said in his previous post, "17 years apart, and we are both still going, just Maggie and me #DogsTrust #adopt don't shop." Following their split, Eamonn and Ruth were reportedly having difficult conversations about where Maggie would reside. There were even earlier reports of a custody dispute over the dog between the former couple. However, it was suggested in May last year that Maggie was likely to primarily stay with Loose Women panelist Ruth. A source told The Sun at the time that Maggie is like a daughter to the exes, who were both said to dote on her. The source further told the outlet, "But she's getting on and they know she needs stability. It's a case of who can give her that." They added that the prospect of giving her up was heartbreaking for GB News presenter Eamonn. The insider revealed that Eamonn adores the dog, but hinted at the possibility of the pet going to his ex. The source stated last year, "But if Ruth is able to get out and about and walk her more, then it may well be that she gets Maggie in the split." Eamonn Holmes gives devastating glimpse into health woes in sad confession. Eamonn Holmes has been candid about his health setbacks and a series of surgeries that have left him reliant on canes and a wheelchair. Eamonn Holmes has been candidly open about his health struggles as he discussed his 17-year-old rescue dog, Maggie. In an interview with The Times, the GB News presenter lifted the lid on his relationship with his border collie. He admitted that his ex-wife, Ruth Langsford, is the primary carer and has spoken to her about what to do when Maggie dies. In a heartbreaking confession, Eamonn said that he can't take Maggie on walks and that he can't lift her up due to his long-term physical health problems. In 2016, Eamonn had a double hip replacement before having back surgery in September 2022. He also faces persistent mobility challenges that have left him reliant on canes and a wheelchair. Earlier this year, Eamonn suffered a fall on GB News when he unexpectedly fell off his chair live on air. Speaking about Maggie, Eamonn said, "She changed me, changed my life and changed my perception towards people. I am now disabled. I'm in a wheelchair. I've not been able to walk for 2 years, and this has affected my relationship with Maggie for the worse. Obviously the dog is low down in the ground, so I can't bend down. I can't lift her up. I can't take her on walks." When quizzed about his reduced relationship with his dog, he replied, "Being Irish and Catholic, I talk a lot about death and have talked to Ruth about what we do when Maggie dies. She says, 'Why do you want to talk about that? Why are you so morbid about things? When she dies, I don't want her to go to the vets and get cremated, I want to put her in a cemetery.'" He also said that Ruth didn't want that for Maggie, and predicted that his ex-wife will likely have the final say, as she lives with the dog, whilst Eamonn is incapacitated. Eamonn also said he wishes for taxidermy for Maggie, after her death, to continue that connection with his canine. He described her as the most special creature outside of my children that has come into my life. The former This Morning presenter has been a huge advocate for animal rescue organizations, serving as a patron for canine angels while promoting adoption over buying pets. Ruth Langsford reveals her panic as she addresses marriage split and losing job. Ruth has had a difficult year. Ruth Langsford has revealed the panic she faced as she appeared to address her split from Eamonn Holmes and leaving a job. The Loose Women star fronted today's program August 12th. On the agenda was a range of topics, including calls to change the term midlife crisis. And Ruth didn't shy away from opening up about how making huge life decisions can feel like a crisis. Since May 2024, Ruth has been embroiled in a messy divorce battle with ex-Eamonn Holmes. And there are also fears surrounding the Loose Women panel's future, with budget cuts looming on the ITV daytime show. Ruth Langsford addresses panic after Eamonn Holmes split. Discussing what a midlife crisis actually is, Mylene Klass, who broke down in tears over a tragic death during the episode, explained that she doesn't think the term a bad thing. But she actually has a completely different name for it. She expressed, "It's midlife clarity. You know who you are and you know what you like." Ruth seemed to like this saying, agreeing, "A lot of women say, it's a new chapter and it's a rebirth." However, despite looking at the positives, Ruth did acknowledge that when making huge life decisions there is a panic moment where you are in crisis. She explained, "There is a point where you are in crisis. Whether you have made the decision to end your marriage or have had that decision made for you. Or you have lost your job or decided to leave your job. Sometimes you have that moment of panic where you go, oh no. What is going to happen to me?" While Ruth Langsford didn't directly mention her split from Eamonn Holmes, it was definitely alluded to be about him. This seemed to be backed up as Colleen Nolan then agreed, explaining, "It's because it wasn't what you had planned. Because when you get married and you have your kids you think, oh, when they're this age we can do this. And there was two of you doing everything." Throughout the conversation Ruth could be seen nodding along and smiling at Colleen, as though she was in agreement with what she was saying. Ruth could have been referencing ITV's budget cuts. Of course, Ruth also mentioned job changes. And ITV is in the process of making huge cuts to its daytime shows, and Loose Women is one of them. Ruth continued, "I think you can surprise yourself. You have that moment where you panic. And the age thing comes into it. You think, oh no, I'm 65, what will I do?" She then went on to quote Gloria Gaynor's hit song I Will Survive, admitting, just like the song, you have to get up and dust yourself off. The Loose Women star concluded, "Whatever the new path is going to be, you have to deal with it." While there have been reports that Loose Women will be losing some of its panelists, there has been no confirmation regarding who will be taking the hit. And so it's completely possible that Ruth was speaking about her job fears. The comments come just after Eamonn paid Ruth a rare compliment in the midst of their messy divorce. He said, "Ruth does all the hard stuff with their dog because of my wheelchair restrictions. But I am working hard to hopefully get better soon and adopt another rescue dog like we did from Dogs Trust all those years ago." Ruth Langsford addresses being in crisis following breakdown of Eamonn Holmes' marriage. Ruth Langsford addressed the notion of being in crisis following the breakdown of her marriage to Eamonn Holmes during Tuesday. Ruth Langsford has addressed the notion of being in crisis following the breakdown of her marriage to Eamonn Holmes. The presenter, who called time on her marriage to her former This Morning co-host in 2024, was back in her usual seat as anchor on Tuesday's edition of Loose Women when she, along with Colleen Nolan, Mylene Klass and Katie Piper discussed the idea of going through a midlife crisis. She said, "There's a point where you are in crisis actually, whether you've made the decision to end your marriage or it's been made for you, or you've lost your job or you've decided to leave your job. Sometimes you have that moment where you go, oh no, what's happened to me?" Despite this, Ruth, 65, admitted that one can sometimes surprise themselves in the wake of a big life event like a marriage split, even though there can be a lot of panic to begin with, especially when age comes into consideration. She added, "I think you can surprise yourself. You have that moment where you panic and the age thing comes into it. You think, oh no, I'm 65, what will I do?" And in quoting the famous song I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, Ruth insisted that the best way to get through something like a split is just to deal with it, all head on. She said, but like the song, do I crumble? Do I lay down and die? Or do I survive? You just have to get up and dust yourself off, and whatever that new path is going to be, you have to deal with it. Ruth's comments come just one day amid fresh heartbreak for her, and the former Strictly Come Dancing star recently spoke out about how she manages to balance her hectic television career with caring for her 94-year-old mother Joan, who is battling Alzheimer's. She said, she wouldn't remember what she's had for her lunch or breakfast, and if I go and see her, when I leave, if you said to her, was Ruth here today, she'd say no. But in the moment, she still knows it's me. As soon as she sees me, she says, oh, what a lovely surprise. Like she hasn't seen me for months. It's very difficult, but I'm much more well-versed in this with my mum, because of my dad. We as a family had no idea about Alzheimer's or dementia when he got it, and we were a bit lost. I learned a lot of lessons with my dad. Ruth and Eamonn, who have 23-year-old son Jack together, have been relatively quiet about the ins and outs of their private life since the split happened, but Eamonn recently told his social media followers that Maggie will feature in the Times this week. He wrote, so much interest and love for Maggie following yesterday's post, to the extent that she is going to star in at the Times Online from tomorrow and this week's Sunday Times. The GB News host, who has experienced health issues in recent years but has been spotted out and about with new girlfriend Katie Alexander, went on to say that his ex does all the hard stuff with Maggie. He said, Ruth does all the hard stuff with her because of my wheelchair restrictions, but working hard to hopefully get better soon and adopt another #rescue #dog like we did from at Dogs Trust all those years ago. The presenter added, Maggie changed my life and she was making me very happy in the sunshine today. In many ways she reminds me of my dearly departed mum, a really bad knee and hardly any teeth left, but not bad for a 17-year-old. Eamonn, who is a patron of rescue group Canine Angels, concluded, please try to adopt and not shop if you can. From organizations like at Canine Angels and at Dogs Trust, enjoy the sunshine, but please be aware of your dog in a car and its little feet on hot pavements. Bye from Maggie and me.